welcome back to me. Um, I've noticed that my videos, I've I've actually wanted to have more of like an outreach and to gain more of an impact or like more engagement with my videos. But at the same time, I don't really mind getting less engagement because I know that my content is going to reach the people that need to hear it. And it's okay because I'm not in a rush. This is just something that I'm doing for myself, not for any specific purpose of like, I need to make like, I need to get this amount of likes, I need to get like these amount of subscribers. No, it's just if you feel connected to me and to my channel and to the things that I speak about or like speaking about and feel called to speak about to you, then obviously you can subscribe, like, comment, engage. If it does feel like it's resonating with you on any level, in any respect, like, don't feel shy to drop a comment if you feel like something I spoke about, um, sparked something in your mind or in your heart that you have been thinking about or thought about, because that's not nothing, that's a nudge, that is a pull from your inner self, like telling you, hey, remember when you were thinking about this, or remember when this topic came up and now, this girl's like kind of speaking about it. I would take that as a sign that this is probably for you. But anyways, no pressure on anyone or anything like that. um the little engagement that I have had so far has been nice to receive. Like, someone commented on one of my other videos, and I saw the other day that they were mentioning how I didn't even know that I was speaking about this concept. I didn't even know that I've heard the concept before, but I didn't know it was specifically that concept. Yeah, so I actually went to go and check on the video where the comment was made. And yeah, so this person basically commented that I'm basically speaking about a crabs in the barrel theory at the beginning of the video. The one that's in the description, it basically says inspire others. So the person picked up that I was speaking about an actual theory, the crabs in a barrel theory. And I was like, interesting. I've heard this concept before. Probably that's why I'm speaking about it. Maybe I've heard it before, but like forgot about it, because that does happen sometimes. So I googled what it actually means, and the crabs in a barrel theory is a theory that basically states that when crabs are like caught in a net or in a bucket, yeah, so when crabs are like caught in a little bucket, and like one of the crabs try to get out, another crab or the other crabs will basically try and stop that crab from escaping the bucket and prevent it from getting out. And this person was basically stating that what I was talking about when I said, when you're trying to do something new or follow, the sound of your own soul and the sound of your own inner voice, you have to kind of mute out the voices of everyone else around you, like a little bit for a while, in order to hear clearly what it is that you need to hear, in order for you to make the best decisions moving forward in life for you. And it's very overwhelming at times. And a lot of the people that are around us and that, feel like they're entitled in some respects to have a say over how you move through the world, which is fine, because I feel like we all have these kinds of entitlements over certain people that are close to us. But it's basically the idea that if someone's succeeding or doing something with their life that is different from anything that anyone else around them has ever done before, then one or two or more of those people might actually not even intentionally know that they're doing this, but subconsciously, because they haven't reached their full potential or endeavored to do the challenging things that they know would have made them feel so much better about themselves and, changed the trajectory of their life, but they never took that step or that chance or that risk on themselves to do something different. And so they'll hold you back, and they won't even realize that they're doing it because they think they're acting from a place of love. But it's not really a place of love if it feels like entrapment, or if it feels like they are not hearing you, because anyone that truly loves you is going to want to hear you and want to hear what you say and want to be able to further that, advance that, make it better, give you advice, help you along the journey that you are saying you want to go on. But they can't really do that because maybe no one's done that for them. They never figured it out for themselves. So now you're figuring out something that they've never figured out. And that's stressful to them, because to them it's like, oh, well, I couldn't succeed in this, so there's no way that this person can succeed in it. Like, I didn't. No one that I was close to or know about has been able to. And, they just can't wrap their mind around it. And especially, I think, in the Indian community, our parents are like this. Like, it's this kind of notion and mentality of like, if they can't see the vision or the picture clearly for you, then it's not a possible route to go down. It's not possible for you to do that thing. And just simply because, according to their better judgment, that isn't the right thing to do, according to their lived experience or mistakes or, just stuff that they didn't expose themselves to. But like a mature stance on it would be that everyone's unique, everyone's different, everyone has their own sound to who they are and what they want to do in life and who they're becoming. And it's not just black and white. It's not the same for everybody. Everyone's impact is going to have a different ring to it, a different sound, a different color. It's not going to all look the same. And it's very destructive in our community when people, not even just, like the Indian or Asian community, like where our parents are very strict and very in our business about everything we do with our lives. I'm not specifically narrowing it down to that group of people, but I'm saying in general, like there's a lot of people that are like this actually. But predominantly from what I know, I'm speaking about a little bit more. But I'm also tying that into stuff that is backed by actual research, actual studies, actual, consideration and stuff that was researched. So the results are based on facts that have been researched. So the crabs in a barrel theory is something that exists in nature. And if it exists in nature, then, it potentially also exists within human beings as well. Because we see it happen all the time. And we hear stories as well. How many stories have you heard, from people that tell you, well, I really wanted to do this when I was younger. I wanted to become like a designer, or I wanted to become an author, or I wanted to, whatever it was that they wanted to do, an athlete or like a singer or a model even. Like there were things that they were actually passionate about, but they ended up digressing or just abandoning it totally because of basically the fear of what their family would think about it, because it's not something that's considered normal where they grew up or within the... But sometimes, and I've learned the hard way, that you really have to push for your voice to be heard, because you're not just sabotaging yourself when you give up on something that you feel called to, and that's something that would make a difference, not just to your life, but even to your family's lives, to your friends' lives, to just everyone. Because if you're able to do something that other people are not doing, that is positive and that creates awareness about anything that is not spoken about, that's under the surface, you are helping to heal like generations of people and trauma, which is essentially what I feel like I want to do. Not even that I want to do it, I feel like I have like this undertone of who I am, and who I am speaks to that. That's like my truth, because I've also experienced a lot of challenges growing up, and like stereotypes and just a lot of dynamics that were very toxic. And when I say that, it's that I feel like families and stuff, especially in the Indian community or whatever family you come from and whatever your family has like prioritized as like the most important thing that you could do for yourself, um it becomes like this like pass me down of like, oh, because we value this, and everyone has been doing things this way, you have to also do it that same way or in a way that's similar, a way that we can understand. But that's not true, and that's not very graceful, because just because you did something a certain way and everyone else has done it that way doesn't mean that that way is going to be the way that things have to go forever. Like, for example, in my family, everyone that I knew was very, very academic, and in some respects as well, I felt like I needed to try and like live up to a certain standard of like doing well in school and just things like that. But I've always found myself being more creatively inclined, like when it comes to poetry and like storytelling or like writing things down, and just that's the kind of like niche area that I felt that I was very strongly, um that I existed very strongly in, even from a young age. Like, I was like entered in these competitions for like doing poetry readings and whatever at a very, very young age, where it was actually like in my school, they were like, in preschool, yeah, I was like the first like preschooler that was like versing like students that were way like older than me, that were like you know in grade school. They weren't in preschool, and then I was like versing them with like poetry and like reading contests and all of these things, and I've like gotten awards from those things as well. And it's like that's an area that I was like actually doing very well in, but my family had this very strong academic like idea of like that's the way that it should be, and over time, obviously, I digressed, and then I wouldn't say lost touch with my creative side, but my creative side did diminish a lot more. And I'm able to now look back and see why I've met as well certain people in my life that I have, especially in my teenage years, that kind of like reignited the existence of my creativity that I've always had. And those, like that specific person, they were not afraid with their creativity. They were like very vocal about it, and it was the norm. And I was like very intrigued by that. And that's another reason why I noticed that why we as people, why I say everyone's a mirror of each other, because you're seeing in someone else, especially if you like them or anything like that, you're seeing a little bit of something that you lack in yourself, and they have that, or they might lack something in them that you have, and it creates like this kind of polarity and pull. So yeah, I'm digressing there a little bit, but like maybe that resonates for someone like watching this. If you like feel yourself in those kinds of dynamics, like look at it and think about it. Like, do you notice that about yourself even? And yeah, so we as people should allow everyone to be who they are saying that they are, be accepting, and let people make mistakes, let them grow, let them learn, because we're all doing life for the first time. Nobody knows the right way. There's no perfect blueprint in terms of how a perfect life is supposed to be lived, because that can mean so many different things to so many different people. Why? Because people have different values. People value different things. People prioritize different things. Everyone's level of prioritization and everyone's level of value for things in life are not the same. Like me, myself, I value like having a family someday and having children. But that's like a personal value. And sometimes even I find myself like wondering, like, is this even something I want for my life? Like, do I really want that? Because I know it's going to take a lot from you to be able to do that. It's not easy to like raise a family, especially in the times that we're living in nowadays, where everything is so exposed and everything is so hectic. Like, imagine bringing a child into the world that's going to like, how do you even like protect them from the world? Because it's so much harder to do now, I feel. And that's something that scares me personally, which would kind of want to hold me back from even having a kid, because it's just a scary place for them to exist in right now. That's what I think. But you know what? Like whenever it's meant to happen, it would. And besides that, I feel like, yeah, so that's my something that I value. And I was even telling my friend, I was telling her how, like, we should have like kids at the same time, then they can grow up together and be friends. And she's also an only child. So I thought that would be cute. And then she was like, she has no intention on having a kid. Like she doesn't care for it. Um, I was like, maybe she changed her mind. But see, that's something that she values. She sees her life like, unfolding in a certain way for her. And maybe having children is not like necessarily a need for her. Like she can have a really fulfilling, beautiful life and not feel the need to have children. Whereas me, I feel the need to have them because I like children and I like, explaining things, and I like spending time with young minds because I feel they're so impressionable at a young age. And it's just something that I feel would be fulfilling for me personally. But see, it doesn't have that same prominence to her. So even like for each and every one of you watching this as well, there's things that you value that someone else may not value. Like for example, going to university as soon as you finish high school. That's something that you may value, right? And then your friend is like, no, they don't want to go to university, it's a waste of money. Like they would rather just like try some creative pursuit or try to become an entrepreneur, or just navigate the world on their own terms instead of going into an institution and growing from there, because it's restricting to some people. And I understand that now looking back. It's You don't need to go to university to become someone great in life or to become someone that has an impact. And that's another classic example of how we are just brainwashed into believing that these things will make you a better person. But no, your value is innate and it comes from you living in your truth, whatever that is for you, and following it and listening to it and letting it guide you. And that comes from having a lot of time alone and really sitting with those thoughts. So the other day I was journaling and I wrote this little extract down because these thoughts just like I don't know, flowed into my stream of consciousness, and I said, let me write it down because I'll probably want to say it in this video. And I wrote down, you need to be alone with yourself, in the quiet, free from any outside interference, and see what you feel like. You should be able to be in total stillness, irrespective of anything, and be okay in that space. When you truly have solitude, everything else becomes clear. And I think today, especially like with social media and constant overstimulation, doom scrolling, and easily getting validation, easily getting like dopamine spikes from stuff that requires minimal effort. Like, did you ever consider that like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, like people did not live life like this. They were living life actually more correctly than what we are now. So you shouldn't be able to get like validation or like your dopamine spiked so easily, because back in the day, people like actually did real life shit that, allowed them to experience those emotions. And like, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, like, what is it all for? Like, why are we always trying to distract ourselves from stuff? And some of us do like to express ourselves in an artistic manner, but people forget that underneath the caricature of this presence that you post about yourself on social media, it's a caricature. Like, remember that whenever you're looking at anyone, it's an expression of self that comes from one's mind. It's not based in actual reality, because you'll only get the full picture when you know someone in actual reality. So people are real with real trauma, real stories that shaped them, and some think that interacting with you purely on the basis of like vanity means something special. Like, are you well? Like, are you okay? Because, people should care to know you for everything that makes up who you are, right? It shouldn't be on the basis of like what they see, what they view you as, or like how you look. And it's just this world that we're in, and the mentality of people, it's just so low vibey, back in high school when I was in matric. We didn't have like TikTok, and Instagram was like still very new. So there was still a lot of like, real life, like talking to people, getting to know them, like building actual connections and bonds that have meaning and depth. And it was just a different time that I feel like even now, like the kids growing up now are just, they're not gonna ever have that same experience of the world. It was just better back then, I feel, honestly. Like everything was just better. It was more wholesome. And like people used their minds like for themselves a lot more than what people are doing now. Because now it's like, oh, this person, like they didn't text me back, or whatever silly thing you come up with your mind, and then you'll say, oh, but I saw this on TikTok or whatever. That's crazy, because those are just people, talking. Again, have discernment when you listen to things, especially on social media, because it's going to derogate your mental health and well-being. You need to live and experience things and judge things for yourself and how you feel based upon them, and let your inner intuition and your brain, what makes you up, guide you. Like, obviously, if you're reading books and if there's stuff that's coming from actual like people that did research that's proven and shown to you, that's different. But I mean, just listening to the crazy stuff that's on social media and then like believing that that's the way things should be is absurd, honestly. And personally, I feel like in life, we all need to learn from people that are better than us and not have so much of pride and so much of ego and think that we basically know it all. Because when you do that, you just stagnate yourself from any kind of growth. And growth should be something that you're constantly pursuing. You should constantly want to become better. You should constantly want your mind to be changed and be open to that. So, there's people that just don't want to hear what you have to say because their ego and their pride is so strong. And then they're never going to grow past who they are. They're going to stay that same person forever. And that's a very sad, scary situation to be in. Like, personally, I wouldn't want that. Like, the person I am today, even, is not the same person I want to be necessarily 10 years from now. Maybe the basic core foundational morals and values that make me up, I'd want that to stay. But like my outlook on life and the way I perceive certain things, and I know that I perceive certain things more negatively than I should and things like that, I'm open to that changing. And a lot of people need to be open to allow their minds to be changed, especially when people are telling you stuff based on like facts and it even makes sense to you and there's nothing you can counter it. You need to hear them and listen. So you adjust, you adapt, you fine tune, other people's tact and alter it in a way that fits you specifically. So who you are and how you move through the world as such should be from a place that feels very well-rounded, you know? And you shouldn't, like, don't look at all of the death of hope. There's a lot of death all around us, like in terms of everything bad that's happening in the world. So don't look at all the death of like all of the hope that we have in our hearts around. Look and learn from the ones that are still trying. They're still aiming, still striving for more, not like plainly living your life from your ego, but from your soul. So you're always enough. Even if you feel like you're not, you are enough, and you'll always be enough. And don't let the voices of other people or the voices of social media and things like that take away from who you are. And stop also mindlessly giving your energy, your time, and yourself to things that are not speaking to your truth. Again, you'll know what that is, and it's important that you recognize it and you live it out fully in its truth. And also remember that how people treat you is a reflection of themselves. It has nothing to really do with you at all. So when you're going through a lot, and I've seen this as well, there's people that go through a lot, they become a totally evil person, have no regard for others, and they think, it's fine to be that way because, unfair stuff happened to them. So what if something bad happened to you? Like, you have a choice on how you act after that. And just because something bad happened to you doesn't mean you're alone in that, like you're the only person that something bad happened to. Bad stuff happens to everyone. But we all have a choice on who we get to be after that and who we choose to be on, a daily basis. You're choosing to become bitter, and no one should do that. And if you're that, or you see yourself like, silently wishing on the downfall of other people that have like wronged you in some way or whatever, please stop, because you're just giving your energy away mindlessly to something that is not giving back into you. Very dangerous. Stop yourself right now. Even if you were doing this unconsciously, people do this unconsciously, we all do this, and we need to become aware of it. So we're not secretly sabotaging our own potential and growth. Your focus should be on you becoming the best version of yourself, on you living in your full truth. And you will then find opportunities and people and circumstances and situations that are going to further that truth for you when you are already in it. So always remember that you are always enough. Maybe you were just in the wrong situation, in the wrong time, the wrong circumstance. That's okay. We all find ourselves there sometimes, but that doesn't take away from your worth or what you believe you are, because you're worth a lot. So just remember that life is a game. We have challenges and we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to learn from them. We need to view them, realize the pattern. Don't keep reliving in this loop of horror where you're going through the same experiences and things over and over again and not learning anything from them, because you need to learn in order to get to the next level, to level up. And stop reverting and repeating your fails when you already have the blueprint now to win at life. You have the blueprint based on the mistakes that you've made in the past. So look at them, consider them, learn from them, grow from them, use them, because that's what they're there for, meant to guide you. So I hope that this touched your hearts and your souls today, and I will see you in the next video. Lots of love, and don't stop believing in yourself, even when the world tells you to. And I have a feeling that, whoever you are, if you're watching this and if you watched this video even all the way to the end, you're already so far ahead than most people are. So just remember that, and take care. Bye.